What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check here. You don't see my pretty sexy face, so you know I'm not alone. We're talking about AEW, so we finally got Guapo back.
Hola, mis amigos, Señor de Guapo's back again.
And, it's a really unfair comparison, because today we just had Super Showdown, which is making everybody really happy. But what do we have on Sunday, or Saturday, Guapo?
That's right, it's Saturday. It is AEW Revolution.
They're only like 5 years late from when NXT had their Revolution. But anyways, how do you feel about this show? You know, I started off always the same way. How do you feel about this show going in?
I'm hype. I'm actually hype. I'm ready for the show. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be great. The card is pretty stacked well, and I mean, just for what we're getting from AEW TV on a regular basis on every Wednesday night with Dynamite, they're giving us pay-per-view caliber matches on that for the most part, and it translates so well going to the pay-per-view matches. Looking forward to it. It's gonna be fun.
It is. Before I do my typical, Spaz's take on AEW shtick, I want to say there's a lot of awesome matches on this card, and.
Yes.
I warned Guapo before we started, I have a lot of AEW-related criticisms that I'm probably going to get out in this video/podcast, wherever you're watching or listening. But I do want to say, whatever those criticisms are, none of those things have to do with anything in the ring. What we're going to see in the ring, with the possible exception of one match, I'm going to be fair, what we're going to see in the ring on Saturday is going to be fucking phenomenal. And I will say, coming off the back of that Iron Man match we saw last night, because we're recording this on Thursday, Pac and Kenny Omega, my view on Kenny Omega is still the same, sorry to say, guys, but that match was fucking phenomenal. And,
right.
if that's just the go-home show match, then we're on a pretty good tear. Now, I have something I want to say about AEW, and Guapo's going to probably tell me why I'm wrong, or tell me why he thinks a little bit differently, and I want that. So, here's the thing. Here's my take on AEW currently. AEW is the best thing out there that I hate. Because...
And you're wrong.
Because... No, it is. It's the best thing out there that I can't stand. Because, as good as it is, it also drives me nuts. And I could say it about the whole show, but I'm going to say it about the elite guys specifically. They're not bad guys. They haven't done anything to piss me off or anything like that. But going into it, and this was a talking point for a long time, just one example of some of the things that they promised, right? They promised, they weren't going to politic. They weren't going to be like the boss characters type thing. They weren't going to just, march in there and give themselves the belts and march in there and give themselves all the main events, whatever. And they did that, and they kept true to that in a way that's even more obnoxious, if that makes sense. And my prime example of that, the Young Bucks, towards the tail end of last year, had the first-round tournament match against Discount Street Profits. Can't think of their name. Private Party. Great match. I like Private Party. They're an entertaining team. Private Party won. And that was supposed to prove the whole, just because the Bucks are in charge doesn't mean they're going to automatically win all the time. But the conversation didn't become, hey, look, Private Party won. It became, hey, look at this nice thing that the Young Bucks did. So they didn't give themselves the win, but they still gave themselves the attention. And whatever you want to call that feeling sort of hangs over the show. A little bit. Not so much with Kenny and Adam Page. I will give him that, because Kenny went on the whole slump thing. But with the Bucks and with Cody, Cody went and he fought and he, had the thing with Jericho last year. And okay, I'm going to prove how much I'm not going to be in the title picture by immediately putting myself in the title picture and then immediately removing myself from the title picture. But I think as awesome as Chris Jericho is, which we're going to talk about later on, the story of that match didn't present itself as, hey, Jericho defended his title. It's, oh my God, we can't have Cody in another title match. So even when losing, they keep the focus on them. And there's so many good things in AEW, and I'm going to say this a lot. I've got my favorite match of the night, and I think you can probably guess what it is, but we'll get there when we get there. They take the focus off themselves in a way that entirely puts the focus on themselves. And it's this one overhanging feeling over the whole company that you can't help. And it's awesome, and it's a great show, and they're great wrestlers, and I don't want to hate them for that, but it's like, okay, you said you wanted us to lose, well, we're going to lose in a way where we're still the focus even in loss. And it's very strange, and it puts a very weird spin on a lot of these matches that, as I say, I am looking quite forward to this weekend.
I agree with you. So I agree with you in the point of they do put themselves in the matches a lot more, especially more than what they said they were going to do. However, it's only natural, I think, that they were going to be in those spots because every single one of them are main event caliber people. So you're going to use your main event people to main event.
But see, if that was the case, right? And especially, I mean, Kenny Omega, like, my thoughts on Kenny Omega aside, obviously the world sees him as a main eventer. I don't have a problem with that, and I don't have a problem with a main eventer being in a main event. But if you were going to do that, or if you were going to at least lean that way, or at least you were going to like put your own personal, merchandising machine behind it in that way, don't go so hard in your early days telling us that you're not going to. Like, I think they over... What's the word? They overpromised on stuff that if they hadn't overpromised on, wouldn't bug me now. Right. Like, we're going to have, like, when Brandy Rhodes got out there in the press conferences, whatever, we're going to show you what a real women's division can be. And it's like, no. Hard no. Hard no. I was talking with Jake DeMarco, who's become my NXT guy, on one of the previews that we did. I just said, hey, Jake, you want to hear a joke? AEW's women's division. And that was the joke.
I mean, I can agree. It's not the best. It could be worse.
It could be worse. Again, it's almost the opposite of the problem that I have with the Elite guys. Is you've got some women in there that are decent. First of all, you're pushing the wrong ones. Second of all, you don't make them feel important.
Right.
Like we had the Go Home show, and I swear to God, guys, I'm gonna get around to the positive stuff too. But you had a fatal 4-way on Dynamite last night between 4 women that I like all of them. And all that match did was remind me that all these 4 women that I enjoy on this show tonight, none of them are in the title picture. None of them are in the sort of pushed position, which is Britt Baker, which her character's, splitting opinions and whatever. Like, but they're at least doing something with her. There's a push behind her, and the other 2 have the title match that we're going to talk about later on. And then there's all these other women down here, sort of, and I don't say down here disrespectfully.
Right.
But here's the women that I would love to see fighting for the title. Because, spoiler alert, I do not give a shit about the women's title match. And I want to give a shit about Britt Baker, but they're giving her character push, not feud push, not rivalry push, so it's a push by itself. So, again, you come around to that, well, it wouldn't bug me so much, and I could look at that division and say, oh, well, they're finding their feet, they're finding out what works, they're, switching out the parts, and no, that's not a pun.
I see what you did there.
I bet you do. Like, if they had said, yeah, we're gonna start from the ground up, and we're gonna build this women's division from scratch, it's gonna have its own identity, and when we get there, won't it be great? They came out there day one and said, we are going to have a women's division unlike anything else. We are going to be more diverse and more empowering and equal pay and blah, 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 blah. But, like, they have what Monday Night Raw had 10 years ago. Here's our show, and here's our token women's match. And that's what it feels like. And in that case, I want them to put more. I want them to put as much, because Kenny Omega runs the women's division, if I'm correct, or he helps book it or something.
Kenny helps book the Johto girls. So all the Japanese talent, he's the one that they go through and they work with because since he knows how to speak in the Japanese language, and
Okay.
he's the one that has the relationship with all the Japanese women.
Oh, so he's the go-between for that part of the world.
Correct.
Okay, then I had a slight misunderstanding there. I thought he was the one booking the women's division along with Brandy
No,
Rhodes. Okay.
no.
Okay.
He, I want
Because
to
I was gonna say
say,
put the motivation that you put behind him behind the division that he's booking, but that doesn't really work, does it?
right.
Um, let's tell another joke. The Nightmare Collective
Yeah, that's
with Uncle
that's a
Fester,
thing.
like just randomly in the mix. But yeah, I just it's an awesome show that has a layer of just a bunch of little individual things that rub me the wrong way that keep me from saying, you know what, I'm hot for AEW. AEW right now, as people listening to this show know, AEW is what I put on in the background when I'm editing my NXT review. And I don't. And the funny thing is, I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to try to find AEW. AEW broadcasts live on TSN up here in Canada, and I would still rather, at this point anyway, I would rather pull a really, really janky USA Network stream through my computer and watch NXT live and catch AEW later on down the line. And if it wasn't for all these little nitpicky things that I wish weren't there, I probably could enjoy the show, and I'd probably be as hyped as I'm sure you are.
Yeah,
So I really want you to bring all your excitement, and I really want you to come into this show tonight and balance me out. But there's going to be a lot of calling it like I see it. So, with that being said, and with, super negative Spaz kind of on the shelf, we're actually going to dive into the card. On the pre-show, I don't know when this was announced because I didn't hear them talk about it on the show last night. We have Kazarian and Scorpio Sky of SoCal Uncensored, obviously with Christopher Daniels taking on the Dark Order, who are going to be accompanied by Alex Reynolds and John Silver, and we're going to meet the Exalted One, and it's going to be delightful, apparently.
I don't think we get the Exalted one just yet. I think they tease him, and then we get him at the next pay-per-view, because the next pay-per-view, the Exalted one will be wonderful. Yeah, but probably not.
I mean, no, I don't want to sound impatient, but one of AEW's selling points is they have less pay-per-views per year. So when you say, "Oh, it'll just happen at the next pay-per-view," that's quite a ways away, is it not?
It can be, however, it might not be. Now they said that they want to do like one pay-per-view every other month ish, give or take. So it all depends, honestly.
Okay. Little bit of a built-in story here. They're kind of pursuing Christopher Daniels on the assumption that Daniels is sort of having a bad time, and Dark Order are the guys that pick up other guys that are on a downward slope at the time. Basically, they got a ragtag bunch of lost boys sort of thing going on. Compared to when it started, compared to when we first met them, and commentary said, "Oh my God, that's the Dark Order," and nobody knew who the fuck they were talking about, to
Yeah.
now. Where do you see these guys right now?
Uh Upper mid card ish.
Okay.
I don't know. It's hard to say because they haven't got a lot of TV time. Like they are building it. They're really doing a slow roll building it of with the Dark Order. Now, Evil Uno and whatever the other guy's name.
Stu Grayson?
After I've seen them before live,
Okay.
and both are really good workers. Like both, Evil Uno moves way too well for a guy as big as he is.
Do they because we did the whole like watching it on live versus being there live video last year. Do they have like an aura when they come to the ring? Like, is there a different feel to their matches? Like, I mean, I hate to do this because it's such a bad comparison, but we always talk about with characters like The Undertaker, yes, it's the go-to example, whatever, there is an entirely different feel if Undertaker's involved in a match. And
Right.
I think desperately AEW wants the Dark Order to sort of have that kind of effect on a match. Being there live, does it have any sort of like overarching effect over the crowd, over the match that they're involved in? Is there any element like that?
At the moment, I don't want to say so, just because it's a newly established type group character. It's not there yet. If that makes sense. Like,
Okay.
it needs more, especially whenever I saw it live, they weren't built enough. Like, that was like maybe the third time they were actually like TV wise.
Okay. The reason I ask is because I don't. One thing that I don't like about wrestling most of the time, sometimes it works, but most of the time it doesn't. I don't like when you're showing me something and I don't know what you're trying to show me. When they first debuted, they do like the whole blackout and they come out in the dark and whatever, and they got the creepers and all that sort of thing. And I thought they were trying to be like the typical like wrestling supernatural group. You were supposed to be intimidated by them, scared by them. They were supposed to creep you out. And now it seems like they've shifted from that to, okay, they're a cult, they're a gang, they're just recruiting people, which is a very different vibe. But they've basically started acting like that, but nothing else about the act itself has changed, other than these amazing vignettes that we've gotten, these amazing sort of like recruiting video type of infomercial, almost like
Yes.
a televangelist type things. And everything that's awesome about that, and it is, we give WWE credit all the time because the one thing they always knock out of the park is their video package content. And AEW, I would go as far as to say that they're on par with WWE in that regard, but I don't in any of their live performance see anything that the pre-produced bells and whistles package is giving us. And I think that's bad because you're telling people how great an act that you're about to see in the ring is, and then the thing in the ring is just like, okay, they're two dudes and one of them's in a mask and one of them's a little bit painted up and they got guys outside and we don't really know why. It's back to the thing that I was saying before. It's like a promise that doesn't quite deliver.
Right.
And I think, again, I go back to it, you pull back on that promise a little bit. If the videos were a little simpler, our assumptions, our expectations would adjust, and we would better take in what we see from them on a live show, in the ring, in the context of a match. I don't know. And much as I like SCU, I don't know that they're the opponents that are going to get me excited about the Dark Order, because they feel like, even though, and this is weird to say too, because they were the inaugural tag team champions, they feel like they're treading water as well. Like they're sort of walking in space, or walking in place.
Yeah.
It feels like we used them to get the titles out there, but now that we got the titles out there, we put them on guys that we see as bigger guys, which is fine. The Hangman and Omega story is an interesting story that we'll talk about later, but it feels like we put them on SCU so that we could take them off SCU, which leaves them sort of sitting in place, and Dark Order kind of sitting in place, and it's a kickoff. This is, by definition, what you throw on a kickoff, because I don't think it's going to have an impact. Like by the end of Jericho Moxley at the end of the night, we're not going to remember this match. Is what I'm coming around to.
I agree with you on that, but I also think that they're also using SCU and those guys more as a stepping stone and a gauging of where they can put some of these talents, because Daniels is definitely in the latter part of his career where he's literally just being more or less a trainer.
Right. Well, he's almost out. He's almost out there like their manager at this point.
Right. Exactly.
Which is fine. which I don't have a problem with, don't get me wrong, and I don't like saying that I'm losing interest in SCU, because the three guys in that group individually I like. I remember, even when TNA started falling apart, I remember Daniels and Kaz being a couple of the guys that kept me watching that brand. Scorpio Sky is just getting started. Like, that's another story for another time. The match he had with Jericho last year was fucking great. He's sort of the anomaly within that group, but I don't want to sit here and crap on Daniels and Kaz. I like Daniels and Kaz, but especially with Daniels, we don't want to look at Daniels like we look at The Undertaker. And Undertaker just showed up in Saudi Arabia, and he's old, and isn't it sad? Like, I don't want to say shit like that about Daniels.
Poor Daniels.
I mean, Taker Goldberg last year. I don't want to have a moment like that with Christopher Daniels.
I don't think we'll ever get a moment like that with Christopher Daniels. I feel like Christopher Daniels will take himself out to pasture before he gets to that.
Yeah. Or as you say, like, if his role becomes more defined as a manager, I could see him. I could see him going through, maybe breaking away from SCU and like picking out a random young team and being like, look, I can do something with these guys. Let me be a mouthpiece for them. Let me be a corner person for them for a while. And then you get the whole, we turned on our manager and blah blah blah, and then, you know, Scorpio Sky comes and kicks somebody's ass and it's fine. They got to give me more to care about in this match, because I don't know where SCU is going and I don't know what Dark Order is. But that being said, I definitely know Dark Order's going over.
Yeah, agreed.
SCU as a tag team are kind of in that Ziggler role of just, you know, anybody that you're trying to get over, put them with SCU and they'll get over. I haven't watched it yet. I know Mansoor in Saudi Arabia had a match with Dolph Ziggler, and you don't do that unless you're trying to make Mansoor look good.
Yep, because Ziggler is the new Shawn Michaels.
Yeah. But there's a couple. There's like Ziggler, there's Cesaro, there's even Tyler Breeze to a lesser degree in NXT. But if SCU are there functioning as a tag team Ziggler for AEW, that's awesome. And my hat's off to them. But even that, they got to find a way to define it. And because if they're on, like, I'm getting really repetitive now, but you got two tag teams that I don't know what to think about, and that doesn't really motivate me, and the fact that you put it on the pre-show sort of reinforces that it's not that motivating. And I don't know when this was announced. I don't think there was anything that happened on the show that led us to this match, which makes it extra kickoff acceptable.
They may have announced. I'll be honest, I have not watched any like BTE at all in the past month or so.
I never have.
It may be something that they have announced and put on there.
Okay. I don't watch.
They do a lot of like stuff that they can't throw on Dark or throw on the Dynamite. They'll throw on BTE.
Okay. Now, flip side. I mean, you did see Dynamite last night.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
So you saw the match that we had announced last night.
Yes.
What do we think about Pac versus Orange Cassidy?
I hate to say it. I'm actually excited to see it.
I'm actually excited to see it too.
Just because you're putting somebody like Pac, freaking outrageous in the ring, can do anything and everything against Orange Cassidy. Mr. puts his hands in pockets. And
okay, here.
Gimmick to the fullest extent.
Here's where I have a little criticism, and it's just hey, this could have been better. It's not I'm shitting on AEW with both cheeks or anything. Orange Cassidy had that interaction with Pac after the Iron Man match last night.
Yeah.
And he got clocked, and he got sort of a little bit of a beatdown from Pac, right? But then Orange Cassidy out later on with Best Friends for their match against Butcher and Blade. Butcher and Blade is another story that I don't even want to get into.
Hey, what about the bunny?
What about the bunny?
The bunny was there.
This is what I'm talking about. The standoff, between between Orange Cassidy and the bunny, where she stole his glasses, but he stole the bunny ears. and all that, and it was all good, and it was all hysterical, and it was exactly what we want from Orange Cassidy, and it was good. And I like Ali and the bunny thing. It works. It's the only thing that works about Butcher and the Blade. It is the Blake and Murphy and Alexa Bliss of AEW, because the bunny is the only thing that works for me. What kills me about that is this happened. It was a great, boy popping moment and all that sort of thing. And he did the bunny ears, and it's all good. He can't be asked, as our friends at What Culture would say. But this is like 20 minutes after he got like absolutely trounced by Pac. If that match had happened, I know they wanted to start off hot. They wanted to make sure they steal all the ratings from NXT, so they put the Iron Man match right at the beginning. I get it from a marketing perspective, from a ratings perspective, from a just structuring the show perspective. Start off with that Iron Man match and get it off the ground hot. I understand and I agree, but you could have put the fun goofy match with the fun goofy spot in first and had Orange Cassidy get trounced like after that, because you got a guy that's violent and brutal and can really do some damage like Pac attacking this guy that doesn't do anything, and then he's fine like 20 minutes later for a comedy spot. It's not terrible, it's not the end of the world. They could have flipped those two and he could have been stayed laid out for the rest of the show and just have the other two come out and announce, hey, he's coming back. He's not doing too good right now, but he's going to see you Saturday. And they could have, they were so close if they had just flipped this. Like if you move this domino this way and move this domino this way, you could have the entire V for Vendetta ending scene. But you don't.
Right.
The match in itself is fantastic for a lot of reasons. Pac is great. Again, I'm just going to say go back to the Omega Iron Man match. Pac's great. Like, he's intense as fuck. You don't remember that this guy was a cruiserweight.
Right.
And Orange Cassidy, to me, because I've only seen Orange Cassidy in AEW, I've only ever seen him as the guy with his hands in his pockets that doesn't really give a shit. I want to see what he actually looks like in a wrestling match. I don't want anybody to tell me, because I want it to be... when you want it to be new, even if it's not new to everybody? Like I always used to say when somebody came to NXT for the first time, they're new to me.
Right.
You told me about Ember Moon. Classically, you told me about Ember Moon. The only thing you told me about was Stunner from the top rope, and I think I said, don't tell me anymore.
Yep.
I don't want anybody to tell me anything about what Orange Cassidy actually does in the ring. I want to see whether he stays in character. I want to see whether there's like an entirely other, like, okay, I've snapped and now I'm this monster in the ring. But the intrigue alone makes this one of not the most, but one of the most anticipated matches in the night for me. I gotta say I want Cassidy to win because it's his debut and because I do like the gimmick. I'd love to see the guy that doesn't give a shit get a win. I'd love to see him get the win and then not care. Referee goes to raise his hand. He doesn't even want to raise his hand. He just does the thumb.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, but I've rambled on that quite a bit. I'm sure you have a take that I'm not going to steamroll, I promise.
Okay, so first I'm picking Pac to win it. But so I'm not going to tell you really much, but Cassidy can go. When he turns the switch, he is a worker. He can work. Like, it's good. This match, I mean, it's self-explanatory. It's going to be gimmicky at first, and then once they turn it on and both of them hit the switch, this might be something that actually, like, could potentially be a match of the night. Like, up there, at least top 3 matches of the night, possibly.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to it just to see what's going to end up happening between everybody, because it's definitely interesting and going to be fun to watch.
I want to be clear. I don't doubt, like, when I say don't tell me anything, like, I don't doubt that he can go. Like, the stuff that he does with his hands in his pockets is stuff that the wrestlers that we love probably couldn't pull off, just from a coordination point of view. So I don't doubt that he can go. I don't doubt that he can go pretty damn well. I just don't know what it looks like. You know what I mean? And it's like, And I mean, it's very, very similar. The whole match that Darby Allin did with his hands tied behind his back.
Right.
Now
exactly.
he's not going to be the AEW champion in the next 6 months. But there's a lot of people on that roster that we love, that we give all this praise to, that couldn't do what Darby Allin did, just because it's such a weird, unique type of in-ring ability to, like, okay, I have to sacrifice my hands, I'll just do that with my foot, or I'll like lift myself up the turnbuckle with my face or something. I don't know. I don't know where you place this on the card. I think you do something really big. Like one of the matches that I predict is gonna be a brawl is Jake Hager versus Dustin Rhodes, which we're gonna talk about in a second.
Right.
I think you put this on after a match like that, sort of clean off everybody's palate, because I don't think, whether Pac absolutely destroys him or whether Orange Cassidy breaks out and shows me what he can do in the ring, either way, I don't see this match going that long.
Right.
Because they've waited this long to show us Orange Cassidy doing anything in a match capacity. I don't think they're going to give too much of it away, because people like Pac. People want to see Orange Cassidy debut, but other than that, there's nothing on the line here. I think they're going to save more of that Orange Cassidy coming out of his shell, for lack of a better term, when there's something on the line. Now, we need, it's listed as number 6 on Wikipedia, and I have to use Wikipedia because AEW's website sucks. We have to get it out of the way. It's listed as the 6th match on the card. And I say this lightly, women's championship match, Nyla Rose versus Chris Statlander. Now, I'm going to start off with something positive. I'm going to start out with something positive. A little bit of a spoiler for this channel sometime later on down the line. You and I are fantasy booking a WWE versus AEW fantasy pay-per-view card. We've been sitting on this.
Correct.
We've been sitting on this for a while. I had my card drawn up like back in November, and time has not been our friend. I will give you a tiny spoiler. Chris Statlander features very prominently on my fantasy AEW versus WWE card. I give a lot of shtick to AEW for just being full of pirates and aliens and dinosaurs, and isn't it all very fun? But like outside of the gimmick, which is kind of charming, I guess, I love watching her work in the ring. I really do. I think they are still finding their way with this alien character. And that's fine, room to grow, etc. I've only seen her have like maybe 5 or 6 matches. But I really love her in the ring. I like watching her in the ring. She's got an energy. The Big Bang Theory as a finisher is sort of brutal looking. I wish we had a different champion to have this match with.
I completely agree with you, and I hate the fact that I have to pick Nyla Rose to win the match. You can't give her the champion, give her the championship, and take it off of her that quickly.
I think if you put the belt on Chris Statlander, it's the first move they've made in this division that wasn't political. And
yeah.
I'm not going to dwell on this because it's not the point of the thing. But what's the big thing in WWE? Oh, WWE never uses their foreign wrestlers, specifically their Japanese wrestlers, properly, even though, Asuka had a ridiculous tear in NXT and then went on to win the inaugural Women's Royal Rumble, but that's okay. We just ignore that for now. So it feels a little, I got to say how I feel, right?
Correct.
It feels very counter WWE to make their first champion Riho. I like Riho. I'm glad they made her champion.
Too.
But it feels like, oh, we're going to do this. See, we did it. And then, to go from one supposedly very ignored group of people in the world to then sort of, I'm sorry, pandering to the LGBT community with a wrestler that I don't think is that great. And you and I had a conversation last year on this channel. I clipped it out. I made it its own video. Is it okay to not like Nyla Rose? Fuck yes, it's okay to not like Nyla Rose. And I've had everybody tell me everything. Oh, you must hate the LGBT community. You must hate trans people. I'm like, I have trans friends. Fuck off. You must hate her because she's like part native. And I'm like, I didn't even know that the first time I saw her. So no, I don't find her entertaining. And she looks like she's going to hurt somebody. So she goes into the same category as a Nia Jax or a Sasha Banks.
No.
And I don't find her endearing as a character. Like, she came out and she cut a weird growly promo about breaking little girls, and I'm like, that sounds a bit rapey. I'm not gonna lie. And I'm not saying that for a laugh. I'm not saying that for a pop. I'm just saying, like, legitimately it was an uncomfortable promo, and I don't think that's where you were trying to go.
Right. I honestly think that. So, I don't know if you listened to it this past Wednesday. Chris Jericho actually dropped a podcast with her as the guest.
I know that he did. I haven't actually listened to Talkies Jericho in a long time.
It's good.
It is. It is. I just haven't gotten around to it.
But, I mean, okay, after listening to it, I do like her a little bit more and everything, but she still doesn't impress me. I don't see the what you call it, the value, honestly.
Yeah, and it's not like, and what again, I sort of temper what I say because I know there are, like, whether I like it or not, there are political implications to the things that I'm saying. I don't care that, they have a person on their roster that is from the transgender community. That's awesome. That is where I gave, we said it last year, I'll say it again here. I think it's awesome that you're reaching out to those communities that don't get touched on that often to give people from those communities opportunities. But those people still need to do the work and still need to get the following. And if the only reason they have the following, and this goes for anybody from any community, I'm not singling out any specific type of person. If you're there because you're from that, representing that community and whatever, but that's the only reason you're there, that's counter what you're trying to get done. That's like, I don't know if you heard it or not, but when the Worlds Collide show was coming up, I made the example of Nia Jax. And right. Nia Jax, I try to be nicer to Nia Jax because she's working really hard. She's trying to get back. She blew out both knees. That sucks. I try to be nicer to Nia Jax, but I still have the criticisms of her that we all had. And the criticism that you get back is, well, she's really important on the roster. Well, why is she important? Well, because she, represents, bigger people of different body types. People of larger body types need to feel like they're represented in their shows and whatever. And look, I'm not a small person. I can understand the whole, hey, I want to look on TV and see somebody that looks like me. But if I see somebody that looks like me that sucks, you're not representing me very well. You're actually doing the opposite. And where I said you should do, if you're going to go with like the whole body positivity thing, is reach down into NXT UK, pull up Piper Niven, who would fill in that role, who would do it positively. Now, if you go and draft more people from, Nyla Rose's particular community that can go out there and put on, crackerjack matches and impress me, I will be just as for them as I am for people like Chris Statlander. But the bottom line is that Nyla Rose, no matter who she is, no matter what she is, no matter how she presents herself, how she lives her life in her private life, which is none of our business anyway, she doesn't entertain me. And you know what? It's sports entertainment. As much as they're not sports entertainment, they're real wrestling. It's sports entertainment. And the second half of that matters.
Yes, agreed.
I really hope that Statlander wins. Plus, it's kind of cool to be the first, the first person of one community to be the champion. She could be the first person from the alien community to be a women's champion in AEW. I'm trying to put a lighter spin on it because I know the things that I'm saying are controversial, and I know there's people hanging on my every word that are going to try and make it sound terrible. I don't hate Nyla Rose. I really don't. If she gets better, I will be happy for her, and I will be happy for her to come back and be champion again. But it's not there right now. Like I say, Nia Jax blew out both knees. She's been busting her ass to get back. Apparently, I've heard little bits and pieces. If she comes back and if she's better and if she stops breaking people's faces, I'll be happy for her. I will welcome that with open arms. It's the same thing here. And eventually, I'm going to come up with a way of making references in AEW that are just not, hey, it's like this thing in WWE. But I'm not quite there yet. I need to improve too.
Yes. But
Anyways.
anyway, moving on to a better match.
So, any of the other matches on the card. Okay, so I said Pac versus Orange Cassidy was one of my most anticipated matches of the night. My most anticipated match of the night, and yes, I'm including some of the main events in this, is Darby Allin versus Sammy Guevara. Guapo, what the fuck can we say about this?
Somebody's gonna die.
Yeah. But also, how good is Sammy Guevara?
So fucking
Like,
good.
being like the little snivelly sidekick to Chris Jericho. And Darby Allin is just over as fuck. He's their Jeff Hardy. I'm gonna keep saying it until it's not true anymore.
It is. That's the thing.
And he's legitimately insane. I don't think he cares what happens. Like, my introduction to him was that coffin drop on the apron. And we've only gone.
I mean, that was both of our introductions to him.
And
only
bam.
difference was I got to see him do it live, and we all thought he died.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that the Inner Circle gets involved here, and Darby Allin becomes the victim, leading into Jericho, later on in the night, so that they can tell an all-night-long story. But I think because I think they might avoid that just because Inner Circle is spread out so far throughout the card. Like, Guevara's got a match, Hager's got a match, Jericho's got a match. We don't exactly know what Jeff Cobb is doing, if anything. The only ones that don't have matches are the tag team, whose name I can never remember.
Tag team?
The tag
Which
team
tag
in the
team?
Inner Circle?
LAX.
Yeah, well, yeah, but what are they called in AEW?
They're
Santana and Ortiz?
Ortiz, yeah, Santana Ortiz.
Yeah, so unless Sammy Guevara is coming down with those two, because the three within the Inner Circle, those three seem to be a little group within the big group. So you might get that, but I mean, I think Darby Allin could find one or two people to back him up as well. Maybe Darby Allin comes down like with the Jurassic Express or something. I don't know. The match is going to be insane. I mean. I don't know how to say this without sounding like a dick. They can't have a cruiserweight division in AEW because a lot of their main eventers would end up in that cruiserweight division. But this is their equivalent of what a cruiserweight match on a WWE pay-per-view would be. This is where, I know we got the Young Bucks coming up and whatever, this is where you're getting your high spots, I think. This is where you're getting your holy shit moment. I hope he brings back the body bag. And he does like the coffin drop in the body bag, because that was fun. Or we like just wheel Sammy Guevara out after the match on a big skateboard, something along those lines. But I would almost I imagine there's a good possibility this one goes to a non-finish, and then they build up to the next pay-per-view and they have like some weird extreme stipulation attached to it. Because Darby Allin in a no holds barred match, or Darby Allin, God help us, in like a ladder match type scenario.
Maybe we could do another body bag match.
Not buried alive, just bagged alive.
Yeah, pretty much.
You remember what the buried alive match was in TNA? When you didn't bury the guy, you just like put him in a bag on the stretcher outside. And that was their buried alive match.
Yeah.
That was something.
Remember that time when you bought Bound for Glory? Spaz.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I had a really bad joke on Twitter, and I don't know whether I want to tell it here or not.
You know who remembers? Petrick Farm remembers.
No, Impact made a lot of headlines because they put their men's title on a woman. AEW made a lot of headlines by doing the opposite. Oh. Anyway.
Darby Allin.
Darby Allin's winning. Sammy Guevara walks out, crawls out.
He gets his head super kicked off again.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay. Jake Hager versus Dustin Rhodes.
I don't know what to think about this match.
Somebody will die. Somebody will bleed.
Hmm?
Somebody's gonna bleed.
Somebody will continue to be old.
Yeah.
I mean, Dustin Rhodes is a phenom, like, in the context of AEW. Don't get me wrong. The fact that he, at his stage in life, is pulling off, like, Canadian destroyers and shit is not to be made fun of. But I'm sorry. I'm going to be the WWE guy for a second. This is Jack Swagger and Goldust. I want to care. I really do. Because Dustin Rhodes has a lot of respect, and I don't think Jack Swagger was ever used properly in WWE. So those are the two things that make you want to enjoy this match. I know Jake Hager's gone on and done like some legit MMA type shit. How
Yep.
that changes the dynamic, I don't know. I don't know. I think you might get like a sympathetic storyline rather than a match where Dustin Rhodes, wants to keep going, but just ends up getting the absolute shit kicked out of him.
It's okay. So Dustin's definitely gonna get busted open.
Yep. See, the problem with them doing the blood spots with Dustin Rhodes, because a blood spot is there for effect, it's there for the drama, etc. But the guy paints himself half red.
Yeah.
And it doesn't show. Like the match he had with Cody, so many people watching that match were like, yeah, it took us a long time to realize that wasn't just face paint, like, smearing on his face, that he had actually busted himself open. So I think by doing that, taking that role with him specifically, the way he presents himself, I think they miss the effect that they're going for, because anybody watching is going to be like, oh, is he busted open, or did he just mess up his face paint? Unless he goes with a different look, which he could. But if you're going with a different look, just so that you know the blood is blood, then you're telling people in advance, okay, yeah, there's going to be blood soon, don't bother being surprised. So I'll give them a little bit of sympathy in that they are in a really sticky spot where they're trying to put that together for him. I mean, he's Darth Maul and Goldust.
Yes, yes, he is.
Together, it's fine. The logo, his own head logo on the back of his gear, even has like the little horns sticking out like Darth Maul. I gotta say Jake Hager, because everybody that they've got under Jericho right now ends up looking like $1 million. And Jake Hager, so far, has looked like $1 million just being the big scary dude standing behind Chris Jericho.
I definitely can see them pulling Jake Hager as the winner for this one.
Okay. Any benefit long term to them having Dustin Rhodes go over here? I mean, I'm not saying, oh, he's old, don't let him have a win, but story wise, all it does is put a notch against the Inner Circle, which is probably one of the more entertaining things on the show. Jericho just doesn't give a fuck. We're gonna get to that shortly.
Yes.
But like his level of not give a fuckery, like he's already got, big massive fucking dude in Hager. He's got the tag team behind them. He's got his little protege in Sammy Guevara just like walking around there like a weasel, and still felt the need to go and get Jeff Cobb.
Yeah.
Like his not give a fuck-o-meter is like in the stratosphere. Jake Hager, I don't think AEW any particular storyline gains anything from Dustin Rhodes getting a win here, other than it would be a nice feel-good moment. I'm going to let you take the reins on the next one, because I'm pretty sure this is the match that most people are jizzing over. For the AEW World Tag Team Championships, Kenny Omega and drunk-ass Adam Page taking on the Young Bucks. Go.
Look, as a quote from good old Colonel Sanders, I'm too drunk to taste this chicken. And I love the seeds that they're planting with what you call it right now. It's really good. It's helping everyone, and you're gonna take away Paige from the Elite. I honestly think the Bucks are gonna win because Paige is gonna do something, and Paige is gonna not be a part of the Elite anymore. He's going to screw things up for everybody.
If I have a question for you, because the first time they put Page in a world title scenario, he didn't really, or at least a lot of people, including me, thought like he didn't look like he fit in the main event.
Yeah.
Especially against fucking like Jericho's their John Cena. Like if John Cena came into AEW tomorrow, he wouldn't be as over as Chris Jericho. So putting
Right.
Hangman in there as a test against somebody like Chris Jericho was probably a little unfair. But his first, build up to his first potential title match was sort of seen as a bit of a miss, right? He was also going in as a babyface, more or less. Skipping ahead a little bit, if Jon Moxley does beat Jericho, which we're going to get to, is there money in a heel Adam Page going after Jon Moxley?
I'm okay with that.
You're okay with it, but is it the first thing you'd pull off your list?
No.
Because the only reason you split them back up again is for them each to pursue individual things. And I hate to say it because I know it would be good, but Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley again so soon after their Lights Out match, I don't know that I need that quite yet. And I don't know that Adam Page and Moxley we just talked about how over Jericho is. How the fuck over is Moxley?
Right.
Thing is, like, they're not a tag team. It's the same criticism. I'll go to my beloved NXT. It's the same criticism that some people are finding a way to levy at the Broserweights right now, even though the Broserweights are like the greatest thing ever, and they've got the golf cart, and it's fine. But they're not a real tag team. They're two individual guys. So if you split up Kenny Omega and Adam Page, even though that's where they're definitely going, one of them has to go up. And neither one of them going up is the most exciting prospect. So, the Young Bucks get the tag titles, and a lot of people feel like, well, we were just waiting for that to happen all along. So they win, and it's like, well, yeah, we thought that was going to happen. And then you got Kenny and Adam, who either fight each other, which would be fine.
Yeah.
But the thing is with that, even with that, like if they split up, and then they feud with each other, you got to imagine at some point that Kenny versus Page is a number one contenders match for two different options that we don't really want going into the world title picture right now. It's a Rubik's Cube where like there's no way to twist it where all of them fit. Now that being said, I will put my WWE NXT bias aside. This match is going to be fucking phenomenal.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, there's a reason why I say NXT gets women's wrestling, AEW gets tag team wrestling, and the Young Bucks are a big part of that, and I get it. And Adam Page and Kenny Omega are great. We've seen the matches that they've been having the past little while, especially with Penta and Rey. It's going to be a great match, but I don't know what the winning move is here. I really don't. And it's hard for me to... because, there's four people in there that we like... it would be easy to say, oh, well, the Young Bucks definitely have to win because they're going to go off and do this. Or Kenny Omega and Adam Page should hold on to their titles for a little bit because they're going to go on and face so-and-so. Or they're going to split off because Adam Page definitely needs to go off on his own and do this. There's no clean trail. Guapo, give me a clean trail for any of these guys.
There isn't right now because, and we're going to keep coming back to the point of not that they really need a secondary title right now, but AEW needs a secondary title to do something with all these other people right now.
I feel like if they do get a secondary title, it's going to be glued to MJF.
Which I'm okay with, but... I don't know, I'm just...
Kenny Omega versus MJF for the AEW number 2 championship.
More or less.
They can't even book one of the titles that they have now. What makes you think they can book another one? Hey!
Lord.
I don't... I said it coming in. There's a lot of good shit on this card, but I don't know what to do with any of it. I predict the Young Bucks are going to win, but the problem you get coming out of that is everybody sees the Young Bucks as the greatest tag team ever in the history of ever. So if you put the belts on them, who do you send after them?
Right.
Like Dark Order's a joke. Butcher and the Blade are jokes. We've seen them face Lucha Brother. I was about to say Lucha House Party there. We've seen them face the Lucha Brothers like ad nauseum for other tag team titles. Best Friends and Hybrid 2 and all them definitely feel like mid-card tag teams. No disrespect to them, it's just how they're presented at the moment. You could have them go up against SCU again, but I think we've already seen that as well. It feels like end of the line for those belts if you put them on the Young Bucks, because everybody's going to think that the Young Bucks should never lose them. And that's, as exciting as it is to put the most popular tag team and have the belts on them or whatever, it's a dead end for the titles.
Right.
And as I say, Kenny Omega and Adam Page, if they lose and stay a tag team, do they just keep feuding with the Bucks for a while, which will get old? Kenny Omega going up against the champ, like Omega Moxley will happen again at some point. There will be a point where we're ready for it, and it spaces itself out enough from the hardcore match they had with the big barbed wire spiderweb thing. That will happen, but I think you give it a year.
Yeah, I agree with you because I really don't see them doing that right now.
No.
Though I don't see them. I see if they split them up at all. I don't see Kenny and if the Bucks win, I don't see Kenny and Page chasing the titles again. I think this is just a one and done type thing right now with putting them together and doing that.
I think and this is a weird thing, and AEW are not the only ones that are guilty of this, right? I think there's a lot of times where you put two guys that are not a tag team, and you give them a tag team title that leads to them fighting more. That makes them more singles guys than they were before. And that's really weird, because it's a really, what's the word I'm looking for? It feels like an inappropriate use of a tag team title to be a prop in a singles feud. And, we kind of accept it with WWE because WWE, I will say it, isn't greatest with tag teams and keeping up tag team divisions as a whole. That's where clearly AEW gets the nod. But that's why I don't want it. If their nod is going to be tag team wrestling, that's why I don't want them to make a move like that we kind of accept from WWE. It would be like putting another women's title on Sasha Banks. Like, just don't do it. I'm an asshole, but it's fine. Right. I wish they weren't as great with tag team wrestling, because then I would accept tag team titles being a prop in a singles feud, which I just don't. It's going to be the Young Bucks. I don't know why I'm tap dancing around it. Young Bucks are going to win. Adam Page is going to go off and be emo and weird, and Omega is going to just keep having random good matches for reasons. For some reason, I want to see Omega versus Darby Allin, but it'd be weird because they're both faces.
Omega versus Darby.
Yeah.
That'd be. I would love to see that too.
Actually, you know what? If they split up, start off two separate feuds where people can sort of trade off opponents. I'm looking at the Darby Allin-Sammy Guevara match. Let Kenny Omega take a shot at Sammy Guevara. Let Adam Page take a shot at Darby Allin.
Yeah.
I mean, Darby Allin would be over as fuck, and Adam Page would just go back to being booed. But whatever. That's fine. Young Bucks are going to win. I don't know why I tap danced around that for so long. MJF versus Cody Rhodes, or Cody.
Yes.
I'm going to let you talk first.
What do we need to speak about how well the greatest, youngest, fastest rising star of the wrestling community, Maxwell Jacob Freeman, is being objectified and made forced to fight Cody? Who's Cody? He's nobody. No. Cody can't even afford a Burberry scarf, even if he tried. But anyway.
I'm going to tell you something, Guapo. I'm going to tell you something.
Yes, tell me.
Okay, first of all, I love MJF. MJF's great.
I love MJF.
Even Wardlow's great. I fucking hate Cody Rhodes.
Why do you hate?
Like I fucking hate
why
Cody
do
Rhodes.
Why do you hate the roller coaster?
I hate Cody Rhodes so goddamn much. Like it's absolutely unreal how much.
Is it because of stupid face? Because I hate that part too.
No, it's because the AEW fans will never admit that Cody Rhodes has made himself more John Cena than John Cena. I hate the fact that he leans on his dad more than Charlotte Flair. I hate the fact that he cries more than Charlotte Flair. I hate the fact that he decided to make a new rebooted version of The Passion of the Christ and cast himself as Jesus. I still hate the fact that he thought he was so ingenuitive and so like hip and cool and with the times when he did the stupid entrance with the Triple H throne. I hate the fact that he has continued that with his first action figure. Oh, and it just happens to come with a sledgehammer. I hate the fact that this is being presented. Oh, look at me. I'm Cody Rhodes. I'm so good. I'm doing what's best for the company. I'm not going to wear the belt myself. I'm not even going to put myself in another title match, but I'm going to book a feud for myself with more melodrama than any world title match this company has had so far. Guapo, I hate Cody Rhodes. So much.
Do you hate Cody Rhodes?
So much. He's such a melodramatic twat. Like, he is. And look, my dad was friends with DDP, and Arn Anderson broke Daddy's leg once, and I'm gonna pretend that I invented cage wrestling. Fuck off. I'm gonna make sure my opponent's finishing move is called the F10 because I'm petty. Fuck off. I hate Cody Rhodes.
That's how you really feel.
And you know what I hate even more? I hate, and this is where the John Cena factor comes in, I hate how much he enjoys making me hate him.
Mm-hmm.
I hate Cody Rhodes. I do.
I'm guessing, are you picking Cody to win?
Probably. I mean, he's the wrestler and the boss. So what's he doing? Going to the boardroom and sucking his own cock? Like, this is what's happening. The only person that sucks Cody Rhodes' cock more than Cody Rhodes is Michael Sidgwick from What Culture? Moving on. I'm not wrong either. But like, Jesus Christ, no, no. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, all credit to you. You got hit by a belt from a bigger dude. I don't care what your kinks are. That lashing segment they did a couple weeks ago on Dynamite was the most disgustingly self-indulgent bullshit I've ever seen a wrestler book for themselves. Fuck Cody Rhodes. Like with every fiber of the being that is me as a wrestling fan, fuck Cody Rhodes. Fuck him. I want MJF to win because he's facing Cody Rhodes. I would want MJF to win anyway. I mean, he's sort of like discount bin Miz, but it's fine. Him and Wardlow are kind of like show Miz from back in the day, but I still want him to win. Do you know why I want him to win, Guapo?
Tell me why you want him to win.
I want him to win because he's fucking facing Cody Rhodes. And Cody Rhodes he's such a self-indulgent twat. It's unreal. It's unreal. And what pisses me off even more is he's a good wrestler.
Yeah.
He's a really good wrestler. And no, we never saw this side of him in WWE. You know why? Because Vince McMahon had bigger, better, prettier boys sucking his cock than Cody Rhodes. Okay. Can you tell me with a straight face that there isn't even a slight possibility that this is the main event?
It's not.
But would you be surprised if they did?
A little bit. But then
Really?
again, like I said, a little. But, I don't know.
Because there's some silly stuff in the title match as well. And I'll get to that.
Yes.
Right? But I'm just gonna say, like, the main event of the show that I write and I produce and I star in and I CEO over is me getting hit by a belt and everybody crying for me. Yeah. The comparison is Triple H has not walked into NXT and had Walter punch him in the face.
This is true.
I hate Cody Rhodes. I hate his wife that went off and tried to have her own faction and failed and can't book a women's division to save her life. I hate... and everybody is Cody's friend. Everybody is Cody's friend. Everybody that we've made you love in this company cares about Cody. All the heels came out to watch him get whipped because they're all kinky and weird, and I don't really want to know. Butcher and the Blade are there, Buddy's got the gimp mask on, it's fine. All the baby faces are coming out to cheer on Cody Rhodes, and his wife, comes out of her, like, voodoo goth cult nightmare hex thing. She snapped her out. It's like the opposite of the Lake of Reincarnation. It was the Lake of Carnation. And she just sort of came back and, like, transformed into, like, the wife again. And, she can't buy a dress that has, like, a whole front, which is fine, except, we're going to bash the other company because I hate them. Guapo, I hate them so much.
Tell me how you really feel.
My God. I
understand what you're saying.
Do you?
But
I
don't agree because I like Cody. But I've also liked Cody since he was in WWE.
And the thing is, I never didn't like him. I liked him. Okay, he was the guy in WWE, if we want to go a little retrospective. He got thrown every piece of shit possible in WWE and made every single one of them work. He did the dashing, he did the deranged, he did the thing with Ted DiBiase and Randy Orton and made that work. He hated Stardust and still made Stardust work. He is a great wrestler. For people that want to buy into his melodramatic bullshit, he's doing it fantastically. For all the bullshit that he says about we're going to present this like a real sports company and it's not just going to be sports entertainment storylines, he does more WWE pull fakely at your heartstrings WWE fictional storytelling type bullshit than WWE does.
Right.
And by the way, and I'm friends with DDP, and Arn Anderson is here, and we've got Billy Gunn. Remember Billy Gunn when he had hair? Like, everybody loves him. Everybody loves him, but that's the story. The story is everybody loves him, and everybody that hates him is still paying attention to him, and because he's the center. You didn't see the whole roster come out to observe anything between the two people that are going to be fighting for their world championship. You had Jericho and his band of cronies. You had Ambrose out there by himself. Moxley out there by himself, and that was it. That should be the biggest thing in the company. If any conflict going into any pay-per-view is going to draw out all the bad and all the good of the whole roster, it should be the world title. And if that doesn't prove to you that Cody Rhodes is booking himself above the title instead of giving himself the title so that he can technically say, hey, well, at least I didn't take the belt, I hate him. I hate him so much.
So you're going to pick Cody Rhodes to win?
No, well, yeah. It's the safe bet because he's booking it. But I want MJF to win. I want MJF to win. I want him to punch him with the ring so that the entire company that he has created to sit in the center of and masturbate can be imprinted on his fucking forehead.
Oh, God.
They had Jim Ross on commentary sell his credibility by saying that AEW has completely changed cage wrestling. You built a cage that goes all the way to the floor instead of stopping at the apron of the ring. That's all you did, and you did a moonsault off the cage, even though your boss told you not to, like every other wrestler has done ever. Jeff Hardy's top of the cage whisper in the wind would like to have a word with you. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I'm done. I want MJF to win so badly. Even though I know Cody's going to book himself to win, I am defiantly throwing my support 110% behind MJF. Even though Wardlow's finishing move is the fucking F10 because AEW's petty. I hate them so much. Please, let's talk about the main events.
We have Chris Jericho versus Jon Moxley for the AEW World Title.
This is going to be awesome.
It will be.
Moxley's a pirate. You know why Moxley's a pirate? Because AEW heard that WWE is doing a pirate-themed WrestleMania, so now they've got two pirates, and they had a show on a boat. That's all I'm going to say. Moxley Jericho is going to be great. Jericho, more than anybody else on that roster, is giving himself to that entire roster and making everybody else look great. And he knows which way the wind's blowing. Jon Moxley is there, Austin. Like, he's going to be the champion. Moxley's great. For as dumb as the eye for an eye thing is, he's making it work.
Yeah.
I kind of want there to be a last-minute announcement that this is a no disqualification match, just because, like, the way they're playing off Jon Moxley, I think that'll work better. Moxley's winning. I could go on. I mean, if the Cody element wasn't hanging over the previous match, I would go on a bit of a tirade on how silly the eye for an eye, like the spike off the jacket versus the car keys, and I could go on a big thing about like how the Inner Circle is trying to recruit people, just like the Nightmare Collective is trying to recruit people, just like the Dark Order is trying to recruit people, just like the Elite is probably trying to recruit people, and that's getting a little bit repetitive, but it doesn't, like, by comparison to the Cody bullshit, it doesn't even feel that bad. Like, Jericho tried to get him into the Inner Circle, and he played him. He came out in the Inner Circle shirt and played them at the last second. It's almost like Sting fooling the NWO, so it was a little bit more throwback, and if it can manage to pull off a little bit more of a throwback feeling, it gets a little bit of a pass from me. But I mean, Ambrose is Moxley. I'm not even doing that intentionally, I promise. Moxley's going to give him a good match. Jericho, I'm not going to go into hyperbole as much as some people. I'm not going to say Jericho's as good now as he ever was, and he hasn't missed a step, because he's definitely missed a step. He's changed his style to a more brawling style because he's losing a step here and there. That's not a criticism. That's just like, look how long the guy's been wrestling. Of course he has to change it up a little bit.
Right.
But Moxley's he's going to give everything he's got as far as, making, number one rule in wrestling, keep everybody safe. Number two rule in wrestling, make your opponent look good. He's going to make Moxley look like $1 million.
Yes,
and
he will.
He's going to do it in front of a crowd that is basically sitting there waiting to love their new world champion, Jon Moxley. And all of that comes together. All that comes together really good. Yes, it's two WWE guys in the main event of an AEW pay-per-view, but I don't really even care. Not that it's going to happen, but I almost kind of wish that, there was one or two people loyal to Moxley that would take out the Inner Circle ahead of time, so that whatever happens in this match, it is between the two of them, because I think there would be some value in that, they did actually go one-on-one, and Jericho did actually put up his own fight, and Jon Moxley did actually meet him fair and square. I don't know that it's going to be that clean, but balancing that out with how great I think the match is going to be, how good the storytelling is going to be, I don't care. It'll be great. I do think we're going to have a moment in the match. Now, got to make my WWE comparisons once again. Do you remember when Vince McMahon agreed to fight Bret Hart at WrestleMania because he thought Bret Hart had a broken leg?
Yeah.
And after they signed the contract, Bret Hart just basically broke the cast off and put it on the table, and he's like, I'll see you Sunday.
Yeah.
I want there to be a point in the match while the introductions are being made where Moxley just, like, rips off the eye patch, and it's like, oh, cool, that's what you look like, or something smart-ass like that. So the very last, if we take out Jericho's backup, and the last thing he has working in his favor is Moxley's fighting with one eye, then to have that moment, and Jericho's the kind of guy that can sell it really well, that moment of sinking, like, oh, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
It was at this exact moment that Mr. Jericho realized he'd done fucked up. It's going to be good. The majority of this card is kind of wonderful.
Yes.
Pac versus Cassidy is really intriguing. If Statlander wins, I'll be okay with the women's match. Darby Allin versus Sammy Guevara is the one I'm looking forward to the most. Jake Hager, Dustin Rhodes is really up in the air. The tag team thing, for as awesome as it's going to be, is really up in the air. Cody Rhodes can go fuck himself. The title match is going to be great.
Also for the title match, I'm picking Mox to win.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah. I think Jericho's time has balanced and has it has run its course. It's time for a new champion.
Okay. So here's the question of where we're going to get a little bit hypothetical. On both sides of the coin, if Jericho retains, who's his next challenger? If Moxley wins, who's his first challenger?
Jericho retains. I think his next challenger might be out of everybody available right now. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to say who exactly would be going for it right now. I guess MJF maybe.
MJF and Jericho?
Yeah.
Heel versus heel. I think that would be really good. Sort of like who can be the bigger dick type thing.
Yeah.
I'm always up for Darby Allin getting another whack at Jericho just because they played off each other really well. That's actually my take. The two takes that I would put up there are both guys that have already had a match with Jericho, one being Darby Allin and one being Scorpio Sky. If Moxley wins, not that I think he'll drop it right away, but I think his first challenger should be Pac.
Okay.
And have it be like not even necessarily on a pay-per-view. Have it be a okay, so Pac would have to like go in there and absolutely destroy Orange Cassidy. But come off of that. Hey, we both had a good night on Saturday, didn't we? How about you put that on the line tonight? You know, are you going to be, fighting champion? Or are you going to be like Chris was? And just to show how ballsy Moxley is, 3 nights later to put his title on the line immediately, he would retain, but have a really good TV main event, Moxley versus Pac, would be a nice start to his title reign.
Yes.
Anyways, I think we did it, and I think
we did it.
We survived.
Yeah, we did. We made Revolution.
Hey, you said you want a revolution. I'm never doing that again. I mean, it's only 5 years after NXT had their revolution. I mean, what? Anyways, last thoughts on the show. Last thoughts on the show before we go.
It's gonna be fun. I'm happy. I'm happy I'm gonna be able to see it. It's gonna be a good show.
Yeah. I will try to love it despite hating some of it. Why don't you
I will make sure to message you for the Cody match.
Christ. Guapo?
Yes.
I hate him so much.
Look, I understand, but guess what?
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna win.
I hate him so much. No, he's gonna let MGF win and then tell you how great he is for doing it. Moving on. Tell them where to find you.
You can find me on Twitter at Guapo_504. I tweet never, but it happens. Follow me. Look. How about this? The next person that follows me, I will give a personal shout out to.
Nice. And you guys know where to find me, or you wouldn't be here. I'm going to do a quick plug here. If you're listening to this in an audio form, you want to find me on YouTube, search Spaz Phoenix. If you're listening to or watching this on YouTube, you want to find me in an audio platform, go to your favorite audio platform, put in Spaz Phoenix podcast. You will find an audio output of this show. What I haven't said very often, and I said it in my NXT review last night, there is a Spaz Phoenix podcast group on Facebook. There's not a whole lot of people on it because I'm not doing a very good job of advertising it. Find me on Twitter at SpazPhoenix1. Find me on Instagram at SpazPhoenix. And yeah, that's about it. I'm running out of things to say. Cody made me lose my voice. It's fine. I've been Spaz. He's been Guapo. We are your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there. Talk down there. Start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later. Right now, myself and Guapo are tagging out. Bye, guys.
Adios, mis amigos.